Start streaming. It says I got an excellent connection. Alrighty. Alright, I think it's working now. I can see the image and stuff, and it doesn't say no data anymore. Is it working for you guys?
I have absolutely no idea. I'll have to recheck.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Alright, cool. I guess we'll wait for some people to filter in.
Okay.
I've already got 7
Someone,
viewers.
Diox, can you link a Discord for
yeah,
for all the lazy people?
For all the lazy people.
It's like the first thing.
I'm already getting I'm already getting connection errors.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm already getting connection errors. That's last time we managed to go an entire stream without any problem. So hopefully this won't turn into a boomer stream already.
YouTube is allergic. Allergic to lore. It knows.
Allergic
YouTube
to
knows. It's all the bandwidth you're gonna use for this lore stream, like 5-hour stream.
Probably won't be that long.
Time you've been missing.
It says my connection's excellent, so I don't know why YouTube is acting like it's having issues, but we'll see how long we can go.
I probably can't go on for like 5 hours because I work today, so I'm probably gonna start rambling in like a.
I can't go on for 5 hours. I think the pattern generally seems to be about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then ask they do the Q&A. But
yeah, and
Lane Weirn, who the hell is that? Let me look him up. Lane
That's from Warcraft.
Weirn. Oh, probably World of Warcraft. Oh no, he's from Warcraft 1 apparently.
Probably not.
How come I don't remember him?
Yeah.
Lane Weirn.
I
played the first Warcraft. I don't know why I don't remember him.
Wait, what?
Someone's comparing the King version of Link to Lane Weirn the First. I can see the resemblance.
Well, you have
To me, Link looks like just an Anglo-Saxon king to me.
He really looks Anglo-Saxon.
Yeah, it's the red colors and the blonde hair.
Oh, I have no. Okay, apparently there's a Warcraft character.
Yeah, from the first Warcraft.
Yeah, and also, it's not just it's not just the red. Like the entire getup gives me Anglo-Saxon vibes.
Yeah,
with some artistic liberties here and there. Even the hair, I mean.
Yep.
Like...
I have no idea what ethnicity Nintendo intended Link to be based on, if any. I know he's technically not human, but
well, whatever makes the most money.
Whatever makes the most money, I guess. Now he's just a twink, I guess, in the new games. But alright, we got 11 viewers, which I usually wait till we have about 10 viewers and then I start.
I didn't post it everywhere yet because
I haven't posted everywhere. All right, I'll give you a moment to do that. Someone's asking about Labyrinth getting a magic fusion with weapons and armor. Do you like that idea? I generally am not a fan of the concept of quote-unquote magitech. The fact that those two separate words have to be fused to make something kind of a... I think that kind of explains why I don't really care for magitech that much. I feel like they're better separate. Labyrinth, I still have not made a final decision, but I think I'm going to get rid of some of their technological elements. The tanks are going to go.
I still think you should, the best compromise for you and everyone that like that element is just, to compromise it, tone it down, remove some of the steampunk, but keep the primitive guns. I think that's okay. Just don't make the faction all about that, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a decent compromise. I've said that before, and I still think it's the best compromise. This, and then you kind of avoid going back and forth. People are like, "No guns," and you're like, "No, no guns, but guns, no guns," and it's like back and forth, back and forth. I think it's just, it's the best compromise.
Labyrinth has
Like,
just
yeah,
not
no-
been on my mind at all lately. I've been doing other things. I'll get back to Labyrinth eventually and figure out what the hell to do with them. I mean, I put down some ideas. I just haven't decided on them yet because to me they're kind of low priority right now. But yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers the question. Alrighty. Have you gone off on your adventure and linked everyone to the Discord? Or not the Discord, the stream. Alright, cool. I guess where the hell should we start? There's like 20 different possible places I guess we could start.
I mean, depends on what topic you guys had the last stream, because I didn't watch it.
The last stream we mostly just talked about gameplay stuff. And a bunch of people asked questions in the stream about lore stuff. I guess we could just start with a Q&A, and then when a particular subject that's interesting comes up, we could just go from there.
I think that's a good place to start.
I already see someone asking about Tarm, and they're linking it to Koholint. I guess I should mention that I recently redid the atlas, or the map, of Hyrule.
Speaking of the atlas, why is it completely different from your previous?
One,
Like,
it's not
just a little
completely
bit
different.
All the locations.
It's
all
not
the
completely
locations
different. All of them are in roughly
Yes,
the same
it is.
place.
Yes, it is.
No,
No.
no.
No, it's not.
It's
I
a
don't
little.
think it
It's a
is.
little bit different, but it's roughly the same layout. There's a few things that have been
Okay,
flipped around.
Misery Mire.
Yes, that
Misery
was
Mire
flipped
is in a
around.
completely different location.
Yep, but that's one of the only few places that are like completely rearranged. Ikana is completely rearranged, and the Moblin stuff is, but like Death Mountain and Hebra and the Zora's River and the Gerudo Desert and all of that's pretty much the same. Pharaon and
No, Gerudo. What about the location of the Zoras? It also seems.
oh
different.
yeah, well yeah, Laneru is completely moved. I forgot about that. I see people asking about Lear's child. Funnily enough, Deox and I for the last few days have specifically been talking about Lear, and she's probably getting a few retcons.
I mean,
I guess do we want to talk now? We should probably. I don't know if I want to talk about
talk
Lear.
about the map.
Yeah, let's go
We
back
can
to
keep
the
on
map.
The map is more earthly topic.
I forgot why I brought up the map. Let me go back. Someone asked something that made me think of the map. Oh, someone asked about Tarm and Koholint. On the new map, completely by accident, just the happiest accident, I was able to connect the fairies and Koholint in a way, geographically too, which I thought was an interesting happy accident. So yeah, there's probably a connection between Tarm and Koholint. It just needs to be filled out a little bit.
I think the new map is much better.
I agree. I think the new map is a lot better. I'm still looking for things about it I hate, and I haven't spotted anything I hate yet. The only thing about it that kind of bothers me is I think the Lizzlefoss are a little bit too far away from Death Mountain, but they'll probably get retconned anyway.
Can be fixed.
What?
It can be fixed.
Yeah. Well, I think I briefly talked to you about some of the ideas I had with the Lizzlefoss and the original inhabitants of Hyrule before the Akalans came in and kicked him out, which I think that's probably a good angle. But
I think so too. I like the new map for a few reasons. I think it makes a lot more sense thematically. Like the stuff is more connected that is thematically related, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not something, you know, you have the swamp in the north, and then you have the forest, and like more in the southeast, kind of. Even though they're thematically connected.
Yep.
Now they're
Well,
all
now
in the
they're
same general
geographically
area.
connected too.
Yeah. So, and also Ikana makes sense to be, you know, in that arid region.
Considering
I mean-
Termina is a flipped version of Hyrule.
Yeah.
Or should I say upside down version? So that's why it's flipped around in Hyrule compared to Termina, I guess.
And there were some elements, but I've said this before, like, I just really enjoy maps that kind of evoke curiosity. Like, there's more to the world than what you see. And it kind of keeps that enigma and kind of like a mythical vibe to it that the new map, you know, does much better than the old one. Like, the old one still had that, you know. But I think the new map just, yeah, does a better job at it.
I really like the
Like,
new map. I was really struggling with it for a while, and then the thing that finally made it all work was, the Moblins should be like way in the east instead of the west. That solved everything. As soon as I transplanted the Moblins to the north of Labyrinth, like everything just kind of like fell into place. Which I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier, because the Moblins they have like a freaking fortress in Labyrinth in the actual Oracle games. Like they're in Labyrinth, so and now there's that pass between that like valley where Hatino is between Labyrinth and Hyrule, that you know that's probably where they've been fighting the Moblins for centuries through that pass there.
Yeah.
I never knew Jack Morin was Angel Falls in the chat. I never made that connection.
Really?
I didn't know Jack Morin was Angel Falls after all these years.
Wow.
All right. Well, I learned something new today. Someone's asked. I'm seeing quite a few questions. Someone asking about Mido. I saw a few questions earlier. Someone was asking about Agina. Is Agina the mage thing from the Oracle games? I actually can't remember what Agina was. Or was Agina that fortune teller from Phantom Hourglass? Let me look that up.
Isn't Agina the one from
Agina is Sahasrala's relative, I think.
brother.
Yeah. I actually don't know. I need to figure out what the hell's going on with Sahasrala blah blah blah. No, that the time scale's been retconned a little bit.
I mean, unless it's getting changed, Sasha Lala is he's dead now, right?
Sahasrala. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's such a crazy name. Someone's asking if I'm gonna add the Yiga. Yeah, the Yiga are a minor faction. I was waiting for that new game to come out to see if it added a bunch of stuff, but it didn't really add much, so they're just gonna remain a minor faction. And I
think it fits them much more, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, faction. I could end up being wrong, but I'm also pretty certain we will not see the Yiga in the new Breath of the Wild game. I'm pretty sure, unless they make more prequels, we have seen all we will ever see of them. So I don't think I can turn them into a playable faction. There's just, unless I do a lot of OC crap, which I'm not really a fan of. So I try to avoid that kind of stuff unless it's necessary.
The thing is, there's already the Sheikah faction, right? So, like, how much can you do with that kind of theme beyond... Like, the Yiga are already kind of like a palette swap with its own sort of tweaks, right? They're so like, ultimately, they're very similar factions. I don't feel like by making one a minor faction, you lose out on anything.
Yeah. What's kind of funny, and this is, I guess, a little bit off topic, but I realized it a little bit ago, but the way the Yiga are portrayed is closer to the actual Sheikah than the Sheikah are in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
That was kind of funny when I realized that.
I mean, again, that is, like, the reason
they're closer to assassins and, like, sneaky assholes.
Yeah, but there is they did actually bother to give an in-universe explanation why that's the case, because the Sheikah are they're civilians now, right? Because they haven't had any need to, serve a royal family, because they've been kind of dead.
I just thought it was funny when I realized that. Like, the anti-Sheikah are more actual Sheikah than the Sheikah are now.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny. But, I won't go too far off topic. Whoa! I hear me being echoed on one of your guys' ends.
Yeah, it was my headset going crazy.
I hate the sound of my voice. But, alright, I guess I'll just look through I guess, guys in the chat, just ask some questions and we'll go from there, I guess. Unless you, Dux, or Exo have a very particular subject you'd like to discuss first.
You need to finish the cosmology.
Yeah, I wanted to finish that before the map, but I somehow finished the map before the cosmology.
I think the reason I think the cosmology is important to finish is because it lays the groundwork for everything else. And you can kind of decide on the larger themes of that are present in the story, and also the arcs of certain characters.
Yeah,
so
I got some of it done.
Of everything.
One thing I think I was struggling with was how many light spirits there should be, and I think I came to the conclusion there should be 12, one for each season. And that's the name of all the different provinces, so, you know, you have Ordana and Lanayru and Eldon are the obvious ones, but there's also Tabantha and Necluda and Kala, and I guess Labyrinth and Holodrum are provinces now too. So I was thinking of ideas for light spirits for them, and I guess Hyrule proper, I guess, could be Satori. I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I think that's actually a pretty good idea.
I mean, the mountain is in Hyrule proper, so I don't know if I want to connect certain other things to the Hylians, but I don't want to spoil my ideas I had for that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Tabantha. I'm tempted to make Tabantha a wolf.
I think that makes sense.
Another problem I'm struggling with though is who are the 7 Druths gonna be? There's kind of an empty spot now since I demoted one of them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they're like
Demise got demoted. Just a heads up.
Yeah. I mean, there are contenders. But
Cold Stare.
Fucking Cold Stare.
I mean, it kind of fits. It kind of fits the idea. It's kind of like this vague elemental thing that's just a giant eyeball.
I just hate its name.
Yeah, it has a really stupid name. I agree. It's a pun. Does it have a different name in Japanese, actually?
I don't remember.
Let me look that up, because maybe I'll go with that. Cold Stare. Let's see what its name is in Japanese. Because that's what I did with Ordana, actually. I used his Japanese name. But, apparently his name in Japanese is Shuezu, which I guess just means shoe eyes. I don't know. I know you're the Japanese. You're the Japanese expert.
Still dumb name. Still
dumb name, even in Japanese. Shoe eyes.
The problem, the thing is, the problem is the lack of, I guess, linguistical context, because the thing, like, English words in Japanese sound more exotic, right? The same meaning doesn't transfer. So it's like when we use names that are obviously inspired by a certain language, it sounds kind of cool and exotic, but for the people actually speaking
it sounds dumb to them.
Yeah. I told this before, you know, people love like Nordic sounding names, like using the, you know, Heim suffix and stuff like that, but it sounds really dumb sometimes. And like, I understand for a non-native speaker, it sounds really cool, you know, I understand. And I think that's the same thing. Like a lot of Japanese names, they just use like an English kind of sounding name because it sounds cool to them. Because not everyone there speaks English, right?
There's a lot
of always get that baggage.
There's actually quite a few cities around where I live that have Heim in their names.
Yeah. Like it's very common. It's just that I don't know. It doesn't sound as cool when
If you actually speak the language.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
Cold Stare is. I always thought it was a silly name. I mean, I don't know. Point is, he's a candidate.
Uncle Rupee.
What?
Uncle
Uncle
Rupee.
Rupee. Uncle Rupee, the demon of greed. I mean, I guess he's cosmic enough, and his
Tingle
questionably
is like the
canon
apostle.
portrayal. What?
The Tingle is his Tingle is his
Tingle
apostle.
is apostle. I've considered Malladus, but I feel like Malladus should be smaller scale.
The problem with Malladus, I like like if you think about Malladus, you know, about his role in the games, then sure it makes sense. The problem is he's too similar to Ganon.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like he's just palette swap of Ganon.
Yeah.
To be honest, like they look different. They have certain differences about them, but it's very clear that they're very similar. Like if I play Spirit Tracks and they just changed Malladus with Ganon, I would buy that.
Well, it's because they're
Like,
both.
I'd
They're
be like, oh,
both.
he looks a bit.
Oh, gone.
No, like I think he looks a bit funny, right? But I would totally accept him being Ganon, to be honest.
He looks like
Like, if
Ganon.
someone-
He's even blue like
Yeah.
the original Ganon. I mean that's because now everything in Zelda's just malice, I guess, or demise. I don't know. I don't know what the hell the canon cosmology is. It changes from game to game.
It seems like the one they're doing now is kind of the new. The thing is, it's not really new. They've just added stuff onto it.
Yeah, well, the thing. It seemed like there wasn't really a hierarchy until Skyward Sword, and then it's pretty clear, okay, Demise is like the source of all of this stuff in Hyrule. And then Breath of the Wild came out, it's like, nah, Malice probably is. So it's like, I guess you could argue they're just all the same, but have different names, but...
Yeah.
I know the idea. I know the idea of Force or whatever has been around since like Minish Cap, but I don't know. It's just it's so undeveloped that yeah.
Like
I'm feeling sad now.
like
I'm thinking of the canon Zelda games. It's just making me sad. Like they've just fucked it up so
Yeah.
much.
No, I think they're building up to a duality of sort between Force and Malice. That's what it seems like.
And then they'll abandon it.
Maybe. I don't. Honestly, this has Fujibayashi's fingerprints all over it, and I think as long as he is in charge, it'll keep to that because I think it's his.
Didn't he actually work on Minish Cap?
All over could be.
I know he worked on the Oracle games, but if he worked on Minish Cap, that would explain a lot, because Minish Cap is the only other game where the idea of, like, Force was, like, they use the word Force in Minish Cap. Okay, that explains that. It's fucking his stupid ideas that he's putting into. But, he won't be around forever.
Oh yeah, as after directing Skyward Sword and especially Breath of the Wild, I don't think he's going anywhere. And he's the director of this Breath of the Wild 2 as well. Here's the thing: all of his games, thematically, feel like they belong together, right? So that's why I don't.
Yes, I actually do agree with that. Unfortunately, I don't like any of them.
So I mean, I like Minish Cap is good. Minish Cap is
yeah.
good.
But I'm tempted to say that he probably wasn't as very heavily involved in that one as he is now. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, according to the credits, he was the director
all right,
and
well,
the writer.
Minish Cap's all right, so I guess even a broken clock is right twice.
No, I that's why I think like. As long as he's in charge, we'll keep having the cosmology he's kind of laid the groundwork for will keep existing until someone new comes around, right? And that's
someone new eventually will come
change.
around.
I don't know.
It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, they will. So I think, but yeah, it feels like to me that he's building up to this sort of cosmological duality between force and malice, where force they're opposites of each other, but they can't exist without the other. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting.
Very yin and yang, I guess. Oh, well, not really yin and yang, more like I guess more Persian. And I'm hearing myself on your end again.
Yeah, that's my bad.
That's all right. It's just funny. All of a sudden, I hear like my voice all like echoey and mechanical. I did see a few interesting questions, but I'm trying to zoom up back to them because I lost track of them. I saw someone mention the Rito. I'd considered actually splitting the Rito into 2 different factions, but I don't know if I'll go through with that. I don't know if you had any feelings on that.
No, I don't think they should be.
You don't think they should be split?
I don't think they should.
There is more than enough characters to split the Rito into 2 different groups. The problem is I don't really know how to make their factions play differently enough from each other, and I'm not sure what the Tabantha Rito's Titan would be. So
I don't think they're distinct enough.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was just an idea I was thinking of, and they're spread out far enough to where you think what?
Yeah, no, I think they should be. They could be split in the lore, but not in gameplay.
Yeah,
and I think gameplay should be a reflection of when they're united.
Yeah.
In whatever brief moment that is in the story and in the lore, I think that's what the faction in gameplay should represent. While in the story, it could be different. I do think they should be fragmented because it makes sense. They're a bunch of birds. They're connected with the sky and the air and the wind and the earth even too. So there's all this kind of contradictory themes going on, and they should be fragmented because of that. So I feel like that makes sense. It's just it wouldn't be good gameplay. It's
I actually
you would be.
Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, like there's enough heroes, sure, potential heroes, but it's just you'd be splitting the factions for the sake of it. I feel rather than just combining it into one good package deal, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think every notable hero necessarily needs to be a hero, right? I think that's fine. I think the hero should represent, like, when you can have multiple, they should each represent an important aspect of that faction's identity, right? And then I feel like, sure, some will be left out. There are plenty of heroes you could include, but I don't think everyone needs to be included, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do feel like the Wind Waker and the Breath of the Wild Rito are distinct enough to where they could be separated. Again, it's just I can't really think of a gameplay way to distinguish them. Some ideas that were tossed around is the Wind Waker ones have more mages and a navy, whereas the Tabantha ones are more, they're basically flying archers.
That's what I feel like. The Rito faction should be like the combined might of all Rito tribes.
Yeah.
So they all bring something different. So you can make the distinction in the faction where you can clearly see that which are, Dragon Roost Rito or Tabantha Rito. You can make that distinction between the units, but I feel like they should be combined into one faction. And that's a much cooler prospect. You're not just playing one tribe, you're playing the Rito people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's very similar to the Moblins, I guess, which probably should just be called just the Blins, because they're a bunch of different fractured Blins.
And also, I did think about this when we discussed it last time. You didn't want the faction, when it gets to that point, with the campaign map, you don't want a faction that's all spread out over the map. You could just say that at the starting point of the campaign map, you're playing. You need. The Rito tribes have united already.
Yeah, possibly.
You could still do that justifiably, and the lore justification would be that the High Chieftain on Dragon Roost, whenever he calls, I guess for all the tribes, they come and they work as one unit rather than like a fragmented set of tribes.
Yeah. There's gameplay.
Maybe when they're fighting. Like when they're fighting an external enemy, right? If they're facing off another nation, then they band together. But they probably still have like skirmishes between the tribes and whatnot when they're fighting each other.
Maybe in the campaign mode, when you start, you actually have to pick one of the tribes, and they all start out as like separate minor factions that you have to unite or something. Maybe something like that.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
I think
I just see Codeman actually just recommended that in the chat. I just noticed. Yeah, Codeman and I were thinking the same thing. Like maybe on the campaign map, you start really cool. If you pick the Rito, you have to pick a very specific clan or tribe or whatever, and you basically start out as a minor faction with a very crappy roster, and you have to work to unite the different Rito clans together to get their full roster. Maybe something like that.
I personally think that would be really cool, and it also would be something that's really unique to
that
faction.
It might also nerf their supreme advantage of being able to fly everywhere, so that they really aren't too powerful until the late game. So I'll definitely put that down. That sounds like an interesting idea to not make two huge factions. Although I'll still keep that idea on the side too, because I don't know, Rito Civil War. Nah, we don't need a Rito Civil War. We already have a Hylian Civil War and a Zora Civil War. We already have Civil Wars everywhere.
I don't think you would need a Rito Civil War. I think like their infighting wouldn't be as much as the Civil War, more as the different clans competing.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
Like, it's not full out conflict. It's more like, haha, we shot down your whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or, oh, we burned your hut.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, fuck. Screw you guys.
Or they just economically screw each other over. They don't actually kill each other. They just they just
steal each other's eggs.
Yeah, they steal each other's eggs. I know, it could just be like they politically screw each other over. Gore mentioned.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Cockgore mentioned, probably butchering his name, that the Rito somehow making use of bows when they have fucking wings is absurd to me. I agree completely, which is why they'll use their feet for their bows and arrows in Hyrule Conquest.
To be fair,
they'll use their feet.
They did plan that in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
There's concept art for it.
Don't know why they didn't stick with it, cooler. But whatever.
It's probably just more... Could it be because it's more annoying to animate?
Maybe. I mean, all I pretty much do is animate. So to me, I don't think it would be that annoying. It could have been a time thing where they were like, let's just make one set of animations for all the Rito or what. I don't. The thing is, I don't know. Like, I don't know like how many animations in that game are shared. I haven't really studied like that part of the game.
No, but I think, like, if I remember right, on some of this concept art, like, there's some notes there, and they're like, oh, yeah, that would make sense. This is cool. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Why would you change it besides it being some kind of restriction? It doesn't make sense. Like, it's a very creative idea.
It's possible they thought it looked too silly, which, if that's the case, my head's spinning because there's tons of stupid, silly shit in that game. So I don't know why they didn't go with the feet bows.
Even then, Revali does actually fire his bow with his feet in Age of Calamity, so there's that too.
I didn't notice that.
Moves, but some of his moves. No, but for some of his moves, he actually does that. So I'm like, why didn't just do that? It's a really cool idea. Why? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know why. You know what? The fact that they had it in the second game, or I guess the prequel game, but not the original, tells me it probably was a time or money related reason. So
probably.
Apparently the connection's crap and people say we're buffering. So made it 30 minutes before we start having issues. But I guess, guys, let me know in the chat when you can hear us again.
I think a lot of those are just hiccups because me and Exo will notice when we're fading out on the quality on your end.
Oh, okay.
Your voice. Then we'll notice when the stream goes to shit.
I guess worst case scenario, they're probably just behind us by a lot.
Which is fine.
Yeah, I don't mind if
it's
the
fine.
audience is behind. If it's like 5 minutes, it's kind of ridiculous. But if they're like, actually, let me compare the time on OBS to YouTube. According to OBS, we're about 20 seconds ahead of them. So, although the people are responding more than a minute behind, so I think OBS is lying to me.
They can hear us. I think it's just some hiccups.
Poodles. All right, yeah, people can hear us. They're just like more than a minute behind us, I guess. Anyway,
But I since we're on the topic, and we did talk about the Rito, but I think you should really consider that idea.
no, I like that
you know,
idea
that
they're all
fragmented.
fractured. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Just
And it also it allows you for more world building. You can have more tribes. You can have more stuff that you can add in unit lore. There's so much stuff you can do with it that is so good.
There's just a lot of Rito characters that I'd like to use. I was shocked when I realized how many Rito characters there are, considering they've only been in 2 games.
Okay, so if
there's definitely easily more than 6.
So who would you have? Like, let's say you were sitting down. Okay, I'm making the Rito. These are the heroes. Who would you pick for the slots?
If I were to split them into Tabantha and Dragon Roost, for Tabantha, I'd obviously have Rivali. I'd probably have Cass. I'd have Tiba. I'd have the Owl one, and then for Dragon Roost, I'd have both of the Kamalis. I'd have Quill. I'd have Medley. So there's at least 8 there.
So
I'm pretty sure there's another one I'm
forgetting.
Shit
about the owl.
Oh, no one gives a shit about the owl.
No one gives. No, even people that play the game don't remember the owl. I don't even like. I'm pretty good with names, and I don't remember his name. So if he had a name.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
No one gives a shit.
All right, well, fuck the owl then.
No
so
one gives
I
a
guess
shit.
for the Tabantha, there'd be Rivali, Cass, and Tiba. Then those are the main 3. There's also that pink one, but I can't remember her name either. So I guess forget her.
No one gives a shit. No one gives a shit.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I don't even give a shit about Cass. I think Cass. I hate Cass and his stupid out of place accordion. But
I think
he's an obvious candidate for a hero character, so some kind of support character.
I think you could easily narrow it down to 3 for each in one faction.
Yeah, I think it's more so Dragon
most
Roost that would
significant.
lose out because there's the 2 Kamalis. There's Chief Kamali and then his son, and then Medley. Obviously, I can't give up Medley. She's basically like one of my favorite characters. So, but I like Quill a lot, and I don't want to abandon Quill. So,
I think you could have just Prince Kamali, Medley, and Quill.
all right.
And
So
Chief
Chief
Chieftain, just make
Kamali, just screw him.
No, he can't fly or something. You know, he's old.
I guess,
Like-
or he's just dead. I don't know.
Like- Yeah, Rivali shot him down.
People are pointing out like no one knows any of the Rito names in Breath of the Wild. Someone's like, most people probably only know Tiba's name because of Age of Calamity. Apparently the owl's name was Kennelly.
That's
Kennelly, yeah.
That makes sense. I remember that. But like, he is the least significant like tribe leader in that game because the Rito they were done dirty. They were really done dirty in that game compared to everyone else.
The sad thing is, I've said it many times, if there's one really, really positive thing about that game that I liked, it was the way they redesigned the Rito. Like, visually, the Rito are, like, spot on. They, like, nailed it in that game. It's just, it's too bad everything else kind of sucks.
But I think, again, United Rito faction that in skirmish is really cool. It allows for a lot of world building possibilities, fun units that you can play with, and you can represent multiple facets of the Rito people in one faction without sacrificing having to make like you have to invent stuff so you can split them up, right?
Yeah.
Just to include some fat owl that anyone barely remembers.
I guess
you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I guess the 6 different clans will be represented by the 6 different heroes. Although that makes me think that Tiba should be replaced by the owl.
I mean, you could do that.
Yeah,
But,
I don't know. I mean, the Rito are so far off, I probably really shouldn't even be thinking about their gameplay stuff right now, but I guess this kind of is lore related. Huh?
Yeah, it's just cool. I think because there's not really, I guess you could say the Blins and the River Sora, but I think like having an avian race that's spread all over the world, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
The known world. That is just a really cool concept, and it allows for so much world building, especially if they have like religion tied to Dragon Roost. They all, make migration back to Dragon Roost every year or every season or something like that.
Yeah.
There's so much cool
the Great
stuff
Migrations.
You can do with that concept. Yeah, and they all live different places, but they all come together on occasion. I think that's just a very cool concept.
Yeah, I guess Kamali would represent the specific tribe that lives on Dragon Roost itself, and Medley could probably be from like some kind of like peasant tribe from the islands. Yeah. Same thing with Quill. Quill could probably be part of like some warrior tribe, like the soldiers or something. I don't know. And then the other 3 could be the Rito that are in Tabantha. So I guess I actually have no idea what the hell Cass would be, because he's like a weird tropical bird and they live in a snowy area. Maybe his people lived further south and they were forced to the north. I don't know.
I was about to say you could make a tribe that settled in Farron.
Cass's tribe is the Wanderers, maybe like they're completely nomadic or something. I don't know.
Oh, that would be really cool. I mean, that would make sense. The kind of role he has in the game too, where he's found all over the place. Even though he lives somewhere, it kind of echoes that he's found everywhere.
Yeah, and then Rivali's clan, I guess, could be the friggin' Archer clan.
Yeah.
Although that T-Bud feels like he would fit in that same one though, so I don't know. I'll figure out what the hell to do with the Rito. I do like the idea that they're all fractured, and I guess you have to pick one hero at the start. And you have to like work to reunite all of them or whatever. I think that's an interesting idea. That might work better than splitting them into 2 different factions.
I think the first option is the best one by a long shot.
I see people asking about the Guardians. Are they a minor faction? I think the Guardians will probably be a playable faction. They could be a minor faction, but I think I actually have enough ideas to make them really fun to play as, so I think they'll be a playable faction rather than a minor faction. I mean, they could be a minor faction easily, but
I think if they're gonna play a big role in the latter half of the story, I think they should be a playable faction, and they're also rather unique.
Yeah.
So,
I
think I always think the big players should be playable, if that makes sense. If they can, and if it makes sense. And I think in their case, it does make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the Oka are playable, the Guardians really should be. The Oka are a faction that really should be a minor faction, but it's similar to the Guardians. Like they have a gameplay gimmick that I think is too good to pass up. In the case of the Oka, it's basically freaking airdropping space marines.
Protoss.
No. Well, I guess functionally, I kind of like the Protoss, but more like the Space Marines in Warhammer, where they just drop out of the sky, like when they get summoned. Like they don't. Like when you place a rally point, they just fall out of the sky onto the rally point anywhere on the map. Like they don't come out of the building and walk to it. I think that's an interesting enough gameplay mechanic that deserves an entire faction. Likewise with the Guardians, if anyone's familiar with Universe at War, the Guardians will probably be a lot like the Hierarchy in that game. It's kind of I know Odysseus, who's in the chat, has played Universe at War, so he knows what I'm talking about. But Universe at War is
I'm
kind of an
excited for
obscure
Guardian.
game. Huh?
I'm excited for the Guardians. I think they're going to be really cool.
Yeah, I've considered doing them next, but I think the Stalfos and the Sheikah are going to be next. If I remember right, Exo actually told me the Guardians are the faction he's most interested in me working on next. But I think he fell asleep.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think Exo fell asleep.
I just think that the concept art you did, just the first concept art that you did of them, is so evocative, right?
Yeah.
It's such a like it. That's the thing from the source material that I actually like, but they never really explored. If you like look beyond the very techy elements, just the theme of them is really cool and ominous. And I feel like if you just took it a step bit further, you would have something really great. And I think that's kind of what the concept art kind of achieves. It's like it's really, yeah, just really unsettling golems coming up to fuck your day.
Yep.
Which is great, and they're also very different from anything else, which is also a big thing.
I think they have enough gameplay stuff to justify an entire faction. I don't know about the Malice versions though. I've gone back and forth if the Malice versions are also an entire faction or not. But
I don't think the Malice should be its own faction. Actually, I think Malice should be a modification to the Guardians, like to the Guardians specifically. It's something. It's like the OP version of the Guardians.
Or kind of like the Lizzlefoss. Maybe if you pick the Guardians, you can go in one direction or the other. Something like that, maybe.
Ooh.
Apparently, we're having connection issues, so I'll wait till people can hear us again. It's probably just buffering, but guys in the chat, let us know when you can hear us again. With poodles or toodles or whatever. I don't know. I see people asking
If you face the Guardians, you're on a timer, and if you're not fast enough, they start turning into Malice Guardians.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm. I don't know. I'll think on that. I feel like maybe it should be something the player can kind of control. That they turn into the Malice versions. Or it could be, I don't know, it could be, as Codeman's pointing out, it could be something like the Mad Scrubs, where if the Guardians like get destroyed, there's a chance they'll turn into a Malice version and just start attacking everything. So I don't know. There's some different possibilities. I saw someone ask about the Sheikah. Well, they still have the three clan system. Yeah, they'll switch between the three different clans or stances, what you want to call them. I think the three different ones were Sakala, Nakluda, and what was the third one? Can't remember what the third one was. There was Sakala, Nakluda. Neldari. That was the third one. The warrior ones. And then there's the monk ones, which are Nirvana, but they're not a stance. They're kind of just always there. I see people saying they can hear us now, so they're like almost 2 minutes behind us. That's fine. I don't want to restart the stream and turn it into a boomer string, so we'll just be 2 minutes ahead of everyone. All right, so I guess that's some ideas for the Guardians. Then we might merge Malice with them.
I think, I don't think Malice should be its own thing. Like, I feel like it should be an enhancement of the Guardians in some way.
Yeah.
Like an oh shit button. Maybe that's the Titan. Instead of summoning a Titan, it just turns the faction into Malice Guardians.
Yeah, the Titan turns them all into Malice.
Actually, that's a really... I like that idea, actually.
Yeah, I think you're right. The Titan... Or the Titan has an ability to turn into Malice, and then therefore the entire army, something like that. I don't know. I'll think about it. I know that'll make Odysseus happy because it's one less faction to worry about.
I just think that's really cool. That would be a really cool, because it's also unique and it makes sense that instead of summoning a unit, it just turns your faction into the Titan, kind of. You know what I mean? That would be so cool. That is really. It's just that and it would be a big oh shit moment for the one you're facing the Guardians.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, they're all red and glowing now. God.
Kind of interesting. This is supposed to be a lore stream, but we actually have been like coming up with gameplay stuff for several factions now. Funny how that turned out.
It's the biggest twist.
Yeah, we talked about the Rito and the Guardians. It's kind of funny.
I mean, it's kind of related too, right?
Yeah.
I think so. But I do think. Yeah, write that down. I think
I wrote down what I write down earlier. Yeah, the Rito thing, the Guardians, or something else I wrote down, but I don't see it in my notes now. What the hell? Did I accidentally paste over it? Oh well, I'll look back through the chat when we're done, I guess. Oh, now it says YouTube's definitely saying we're disconnecting now, so it says no data. The stream will end shortly.
Hey, you were spazzing out for a minute.
Yeah, my internet's cutting out. Hopefully it reconnects. Do I sound good on your end now, or am I still like a...
Yeah, no, it's crystal clear here now. It was just for like a little bit.
Yeah, they're even saying in the chat there's major lag, so hopefully it's just a hiccup.
Like
it stopped for 2 seconds. Now 2 seconds ain't that bad if that's all that it cut out for them.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I just think it's very cool, not just from a gameplay perspective, but lore perspective, to find new ways to have the Titan mechanic vary from faction to faction, right? I always think that's a very cool thing to do, especially when it makes sense and it doesn't feel forced in any way.
Or the Guardian Titan, like when you summon it, it's just a small thing that has like a radius effect that transforms Guardians into Malice within that radius. So you have to like physically move it around to infect your own Guardians, and then it gets bigger over time.
Like a Malice core almost.
Yeah.
That kind of slowly floats around. That would be cool.
Something like that, yeah. Cool.
That would be really cool.
I see someone mentioning Ikana and the Cobble. Maybe we could talk about them. I don't think we've talked about them at all, other than very briefly about some ideas I had for them.
I think we can talk about them. They're cool.
It was only after like 15 or 10 years or whatever I realized that Ikana and the Cobble Kingdom have an insane amount of similarities. I don't know how I never noticed. They both like live in like a dead place. They're both technically undead, and they both build really tall tower things out of stone. So yeah, YouTube still says I'm disconnected, but I don't know. People seem to be able to hear us. But anyway,
I think going on by that idea that with the Cobble and Ikana, you could just talk about, I guess, the ancients before the arrival of the Collins. That's because that would be kind of cool. Like what would you call ancient Hyrule? I guess.
Probably starts with a Z. The thing is, I'm still waiting for a certain game to come out before I'm 100%.
No.
I know you're just like no, just ignore that game. But the
thing is, I think the role is not going to change, even if they're in the sequel. I don't think the role is going to change. They're going to be probably, even if, let's say hypothetically they're in the sequel, I still think they're going to be a long dead civilization.
Yeah.
Like I don't. That's going to change at all.
They might connect that long dead civilization to specific things, is what I'm getting at.
They're not going to do that.
I know they're not, but I always leave a margin of possibility. That's what all humans should do. Always leave a margin.
The thing is, in the context of the current lore, I just think having them as an ancient civilization, like back before the Collins arrived in Hyrule, the Hyrule mainland, there were just this really old and powerful civilizations toward the West and everywhere, right? And they were just kind of pushed back, probably because they couldn't cooperate, right? Like when the Collins came, they were like, "I still hate you guys, so I'm not gonna help you to fight other new guys. I'm just gonna sit there and watch," and then they all lose because they're unwilling to band together.
The general idea for the history, for those in the chat that might not know, is that the ancestors of the Hylians are called the Ikalans, which sailed over the ocean from the east into what is now Hyrule. And when they arrived in Hyrule, there was another civilization. There's several civilizations, but there was a particularly large civilization already settled in Hyrule that you could say were like the natives, or like they controlled. They were like the de facto power in Hyrule, and they are connected to dragons. And the Ikalans basically just slaughtered them all and pushed them off into the forest. And then the Ikalans basically conquered Hyrule, and as time went on and they became connected to Hylia, they became the Hylians. There was also other ancient cultures that are native to Hyrule before the Ikalans came, like Ikana, and the Dark Nuts. Yeah.
Cobble.
Well, I'm still not sure if the Cobble and Ikana are completely separate. There's more than enough material for two different factions, certainly, but I don't know how.
I always imagine.
Huh?
I always imagine they'd be sister kingdoms. I always imagine they would be like sister kingdoms.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Well, to me,
when you brought up your idea.
To me, the split between them is because in Majora's Mask, Ikana, the backstory is Ikana destroyed itself because everyone turned on each other. So it's basically like a civil war. To me, that's probably what the split between the Cobble and Ikana will be, is the war started between those two sides. You know, probably I don't know, maybe there was a war of secession or something between Igos and Mudo. And then just spiraled out of control from there. And they all destroyed themselves.
I mean, it could be that Ikana and Cobble were once an empire on this, like rivaling the Sonai or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then Emperor dies. The two successor states fight against each other for. It's kind of like the Mongol Empire and Alexander the Great's empire. It's like after the big boy, or Charlemagne even. Like after the big guy dies, it just
falls apart. Yeah, poor Franks. Yeah.
And then you have the Sonai to the west. They're getting slaughtered, and they're like, "Yo, can you send help? We have these foreigners, wreaking havoc everywhere." And they're like, "No, we're busy here."
Yeah, I see someone asking about the Zora during this time, and the Gorons. The Gorons probably are not. I wouldn't say the Gorons are specifically native to Hyrule, because the Gorons probably just come from underground. So there's probably Gorons just all across the world sporadically. But the Zora, I'm kind of happy with where the hell the Zora came from in the rebooted retcon. Basically, the Ikalans came from over the sea, and it was a long and arduous journey. And like in a lot of myths on Earth, the Ikalans probably found some fish ladies out in the ocean. And basically, the story goes that the Ikalans fought off an army of Zora in the ocean, and they slaughtered their armies, and the women Zora fell in love with them, and the female Zoras followed the Ikalans from the ocean onto the land, and that's kind of the origin of the Zora that live in Hyrule. They were so impressed by the Ikalan warriors that they left the oceans to follow them onto land. I really like that idea. Huh?
Very reminiscent, and that it's very reminiscent of Numenor. Numenor is badass.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure Nintendo got the name Akala from Akalabeth. So there's already a kind of Numenor connection just in the name that Nintendo picked for Akala. I'm certain they got the idea of that name from Akalabeth. I mean, there's no avoiding it. Like, they sound almost exactly the same.
Like, the parallel is really cool because, like, you have the Numenorians and Hyrule is kind of like, Gondor and...
Yeah, that pattern is definitely there. There's no real avoiding it. But, to me, the whole Zora thing, it's an inversion of the mermaid story. Where the men lured the mermaids to land instead of the mermaids luring the men into the sea. Because they were the ancient Ikalans, they were just so manly and badass that they turned their siren song was stronger than the sirens, I guess.
But isn't it funny because we never followed up on that discussion. Are the Ikalans? Are you still imagining that the Ikalans were running away? Because that makes it.
Yeah, from probably the Moblins and Demise.
The mice and the mice.
Yeah,
running away, and they're like, "Yeah, come with us."
Yeah, basically the idea is, I'm probably never going to go into tons of detail, but I think it'll be obvious to the player that the Moblins and the Ikalans are from someplace far in the east, and the Moblins probably destroyed. The Ikalans were probably fleeing from the Moblins, and by the time of the game, that's probably all destroyed. And eventually the Moblins followed the Ikalans over the sea. And so the Moblins and the Ikalans are from the east. Over the sea. There's probably maybe there's some other races from over the seas too. I can't really think of any obvious ones though.
I just have this funny image of like the mice chasing down a bunch of Ikalans with like a rowboat.
A rowboat. Demise doesn't need a boat to get across the sea. he's a freaking god. He doesn't need a boat. He just needs people to believe in him, and he's there.
Manifests. No, but it's a very cool idea.
Yeah, just giant like Demise thing in a little rowboat chasing after a Collins. Yeah. That's kind of funny.
Get back here, you meddling kids.
Yeah, the Goma are probably also native to Hyrule. I think I saw someone mention the Goma somewhere. They're from deep in the forest and the swamps.
Oh, the new forest is great.
Yeah. The only blemish on it is I feel like the forest should go off into the east and not the south, but oh well. It's better than nothing, I guess.
You know, the forest is so huge that it eventually goes
to... It eventually turns back over me. Fine. It's just because I really wanted to channel Ocarina of Time more than any of the other ones. And in Ocarina of Time, the forest goes off into the east and the north, and the northeast, the southeast, just all the east. And also historically, the east, like you said, is connected to like the origin of things.
The beginning.
But in this cosmology, the Ikalans came from the east, and the east is over the ocean. They didn't come through the forest, so yeah.
I think it's not ideal, but I think the forest being in the south also it works. And again, the forest is probably massive, right? That's kind of the
it works on Earth anyway.
Yeah. Little did they know, it's called the Lost Woods because it's so freaking huge.
The Lost Woods, the sea of trees, forbidden, all these like spooky names. Like, well, actually, in the redone lore, Labyrinth and Holodrum were a purposeful attempt for the Hylians to go back east. And the ones that went through the valley where Hateno is became the Labyrinths, and then there was a bunch that migrated through the forests and became Holodrum, but not all of them made it. Only a few of them made it through the forest to Holodrum. So you can probably see where the Kokiri might have come from.
Yeah. Like, holy shit. We need to settle here. This forest, man. It's spooky.
That's probably why the people of Horon are connected to the forest and fairies, because they probably encountered them on their migration through the forest. Not all of them made it through the forest, though. Only a few did. And then they reconnected with Labyrinth, sort of, I guess. And then they reconnected with the Hylians, but as time went on, Labyrinth and Holodrum just kind of split off from the Hylians. I still haven't decided exactly why. Like, why did the Crown lose interest in having a foot over Labyrinth and whatnot? I haven't decided why. Did I disconnect on your end?
No, I was just thinking.
Well, just while you were thinking, the YouTube was just complaining at me again. But anyway,
I think with Akala, again you can go with the old canon that it was a steep decline from their former glory.
Well, they have a civil war.
Yeah, but I think like the modern Hyrule, you could just explain it in a way that modern Hyrule doesn't have the resources, the authority to enforce like its.
So you're basically saying they didn't have the armies and the wealth to maintain a foothold there. Yeah, fair. I mean, they can't even completely maintain a foothold over Ordana province, which is right next door. So
it's like Akala. Ironically enough, similar to its enemies that it defeated swiftly, right? It had a very much the same fate. It was this great, grand kind of civilization and just kind of declined and fragmented into all these smaller kingdoms and nations.
Yep.
Which makes sense.
That happens all throughout history.
Yeah, and occasionally you have like someone like Gustav that comes around and is able to kind of renew some of that good old splendor, right? But
or Link and Tetra, I guess, in the
yeah.
And then as soon as they're out of the picture, it all falls apart again. Although Aghanim actually was the guy who kind of reunited things, oddly enough.
But he doesn't expand. But he didn't really expand though. He was
That's
just
true.
Kind of content ruling. He was just kind of content keeping things stable.
Stasis, probably
for a long time.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, go on. Sorry.
I don't feel like I don't feel Aghanim. He was successful. We did talk about that. Like he did actually a good job. Let's be honest. Like
yeah. Well, I've also mentioned that the reason might be because he's backed by the Oka. Like the Oka want some kind of stasis, and I was thinking, Aghanim kind of achieved that. That seems like something the Oka would actually support. So I don't. What?
No, I also imagine. Besides that too, he's just a competent person, right? That's kind of what I. Sure, he's evil.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can change people's minds with your crazy voodoo magic, I guess you'd just be competent through that tool that you have.
Yeah.
I
don't feel like the original point I wanted to make. I don't feel Aghanim ever wanted to revive ancient Akala or anything, right? He just kind of was happy with maintaining the status quo in Hyrule, like Hyrule proper, like the central Hyrule, and just keep things as they are. Like if he wanted, he'd invade Labyrinth and. Like, you guys belong to us.
Yeah, he definitely had the power to take on Labyrinth at that time. Labyrinth was nowhere near as powerful as it is during the time that Labyrinth was playable. I mean, I'll have to think about it some more. Like, I still haven't completely decided what exactly Aghanim's actual motivation was. I kind of settled on the notion that he had an affair with one of the old Zeldas, and that kind of backfired in his face horribly, as affairs often do. And then,
I mean, his motivation is to have power and consolidate and
I feel like without something a little more more personal. I feel like after doing that for so long, he would just it would just like there's nothing more boring than having all the power in the world and just sitting there for like several thousand years.
But isn't that kind of the point, though? I feel that
I guess.
he was just sitting there.
Or, well, that's why I was thinking it's something instituted by the Oka. Like, it's almost like a duty of his, maybe. Like, he's doing it out of a duty to them, maybe. I'm not sure I want to so directly connect him with the Oka, though. I almost feel like it's probably better if he doesn't even realize that, like, oh, yeah, the Oka are backing up his static kingdom. Like, it's not like he's conscious that he's doing something the Oka are interested in. It's more like...
It could also be as simple as he has lived for so long that his kind of sense of urgency just kind of evaporated, right?
Yeah, I mean, that does happen.
Why would you rush to invade anything or expand your borders if you're virtually immortal and there's no like end to your rule inside at all? Like, why? What? Like, humans act because we know consciously and subconsciously that our time is limited, but it's hard for us to imagine, but if you had virtually infinite amount of time, it's likely we wouldn't do as much.
Yeah.
Like, we're driven by urgency because we know we have finite amount of time.
I do feel like the easy solution is to just directly connect him with the Oka. Like, that would also explain why the Oka are so against Zelda. When she shows up, she basically disrupts everything and is like, no, I'm a time sage. Sorry, Demoko. I just, again, I don't know if I want to so directly connect Aghanim to the Oka. I'm sure I could find a way to work it out better, but certainly the Oka are okay with what Aghanim is doing. I just don't know if like a freaking little bird head came up to him and whispered, "Oh, it's your duty to keep this all going for all eternity and keep the Triforce here, yada yada yada." I don't know if I want to do that, unless he's not aware that he's being whispered to by the Oka. I don't know.
They come in his dreams.
They come, yeah. Well, yeah. They could come. They could come in dreams. It could also be another reason why Rauru hates the Oka, because he knows the connection between them and Aghanim, and Rauru hates Aghanim. So all kinds of possibilities, I suppose. Hang on. I should have turned my phone off. I kept it on like a boomer. People are messaging
Rauru is like
me.
the Martin Luther of Hyrule.
Which Martin Luther, the Protestant reformer?
Yeah.
Really? I would actually kind of see him as like the opposite, like a Catholic trying to reconstitute like the old Orthodoxy from all the fractured like denominations.
Also,
kind of funny.
like Martin Luther also argued that the Catholicism have lost its way, right?
Yeah.
So
I can see. Maybe he's more like, I guess the Eastern Orthodox, maybe when the first schism in the 1100s. Yeah, maybe something more like that.
He's just pissed about all this bullshit. It's like, can we just go back to
Can we just go back to the three goddesses? How hard is that?
Can we stop with the immortal undead
Can we get rid of this
Hylian
Hylia lady?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Too
it's kind of
much
funny.
goddesses. There's too many lesser deities and immortal kings. Can we just go back to we go to the temple, we have fun. When people die, we should die.
I guess yeah, that would more connect him to Martin Luther, because he's like, he doesn't like the idea of like Hylia and like these like lesser sort of beings in the hierarchy, like I guess like saints and stuff. So yeah, I think you're right. He is Raru's the Martin Luther of Hyrule. The thing is, there's not really an orthodoxy to begin with in the Kingdom of Hyrule. Like, there isn't like a Catholic church. They're still relatively pagan.
Yeah.
Like I've said it before, like they're like a weird, awkward in between of like a pagan culture and like an orthodox kind of culture. It's kind of hard to really classify them because like they seem to have like an organized church system where they have deacons and priests and bishops and stuff, but I guess they're kind of like pagan Protestants because they have like all these different denominations that kind of like agree with each other sort of, but not really. Kind of like Protestants. Yeah, it's really hard for me to put a finger on like how to classify like the Hylian religion. It's kind of weird.
Just yeah, that's the fun of it though, right?
Yeah.
I think that it makes it more fun and interesting. Like having a carbon copy of like Abrahamic religion, it would be kind of boring. It's not as challenging, right? You can still do something fun with it. I just think it's more challenging when it's a bit more difficult to place where stuff should be, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the institution behind it and the beliefs and.
I mean, in the canon Zelda, like, it's clearly not Abrahamic at all. It's clearly inspired by freaking Hinduism, and some games, like Majora's Mask, it's basically Buddhist propaganda. Majora's Mask is, I almost tempted to say, it's just outright Buddhist propaganda. I'm certain there's a lot of Shinto in there. I guess Hyrule's religion is kind of like Shinto, because like Shinto, I mean, I am not an expert in Shinto. I've barely looked into it, but from an outsider looking in, Shinto, it's like they have like a priesthood and a clergy and stuff, but it doesn't feel like there's an actual orthodoxy at all. It feels like they just kind of they're like cruise. It's like the Shinto is just like cruising along on autopilot without any direction. Basically, that's what it feels like to me.
The thing is, Shinto has also had a lot of phases, right? There's been periods where it's been much more fragmented and less institutionalized. Then there's been times where it has been very rigid and there has been a clear hierarchy there. You know, it's changed throughout history.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I would say that the institution is very obvious if you're in the cities or close to imperial power, and it grows less and less rigid as you go out.
That makes sense. That's the case with any religion. As it moves away from a center of power, it fractures. That's just natural.
And you see this in Japan. Like if you went to the bigger cities with the bigger temples, there would be very clear, priesthoods and certain deities that are above others. And once you get out of the cities and into the countryside, you have all these local deities that are much more important than the bigger. Like they're still.
That's so pagan. It's just
like the higher deities are. Yeah, the higher deities are acknowledged and they're probably worshipped still, but because they're so much higher up in the hierarchy, they're less involved in everyday life.
Yeah, it sounds like paganism to me. Just at a glance.
That's kind of what State Shinto tried to change, was directly, no questions asked. The imperial family is above everything because of their connection.
State Hylianism.
Everything else is below that. That's what they tried to do.
This is weird because if I remember right, the imperial family is directly connected to Amaterasu, right? Probably butchering her name.
Yeah.
But in the Shinto cosmology, she's not the top of the hierarchy though at all.
No.
She has immediate parents.
To, the highest worldly deity. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
I would say she was elevated quite a bit.
Yeah.
As throughout time. She is much more relevant in modern, but I say modern, but Middle Age, the Middle Ages and onward, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about super ancient Japan. I did a lot of research on Japan, oddly enough, because I was trying to. It started as me just trying to find details about katanas when I was modeling Impa's katana, and led down a can of
Yeah.
worms, me doing a bunch of research on feudal Japan and all the different
I
eras.
I saw someone brought it up, but even Izanami and Izanagi, they are lower.
Yeah, they're
much,
not the
much higher deities.
I can never the name of the highest god in Japanese
No.
mythology. I cannot say his name. It starts with an A. It's like Akamana Baba. I don't know. And if I remember right, in the creation story, when the heavier elements sink to the bottom of the world or whatever, and then he comes into being, he just runs away and is gone forever. He's in the story for like 5 seconds and then he's gone. Huh?
I remember.
You know, that reminds me of certain other 3 goddesses in a certain other mythology where they just go away and they're gone.
in certain versions of the story, he is three gods at the same time. You know what? That also sounds
Yeah.
I wonder.
Yeah, well, there's other versions of the story where the three deities follow him immediately or whatever. I'm not even gonna try and say their names. They're really long and they're very Japanese names.
I can't even say it.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, there's music devoted to him, even though he's only in the universe for like 5 seconds. I thought that was interesting when I found an orchestra devoted to him.
He created himself and he dropped the best mixtape
Yeah.
the creator has ever seen. And that was all he did. He's like, here's my mixtape. I'm out. See ya.
Yeah, no, it does kind of remind me of the Hyrule mythology from Nintendo canon, which again makes sense. It's a Japanese game. I wouldn't be surprised if, even if it wasn't intentional, of course, you know, it makes sense that Japanese mythology would seep into their creation.
It's just Zelda is Shinto fanfiction.
Yeah, well, unless it's
I would
Majora's
say it.
Mask, then it's Buddhist fanfiction. I mean, oh, go on.
Shinto and Buddhism are very intertwined now. And
Yeah,
they've been for a very long time.
yeah. Majora's Mask, like I can't stress like how much Buddhist propaganda it is. Like it even has like a fierce deity in it. They didn't even bother like changing the name to like something more fantastical. They just outright are like, yeah, there's a fierce deity in this game. And actually, like a week or two ago, I was reading an interview where someone asked Anima, like, he was asking about the masks, and Anima was like, oh, you know, the masks are all the souls of a person in Termin or whatever. And then they asked, like, oh, who's the soul of the person in the fierce deity mask? And he's like, you can see the fierce deity mask is like the souls of all the people in Termina, like, revolting against Majora. And I'm like, that sounds like something in Buddhism. Sounds like one of those vengeful fierce deities. Anyway, I don't know if we went on a tangent or not. I guess we're talking about Japanese lore now.
I mean, Zelda is Japanese lore fanfiction, so
Yeah.
it's it's fanfiction of fanfiction.
Well, especially since Skyward Sword, it's more blatantly Japanese. I mean, Hylian and Amaterasu is kind of hard to separate. I wait for the day when Demise is confirmed to be her brother, and you're just like, I told you.
Yeah. Like I don't think it was a coincidence that he conjures a storm. I refuse. I refuse to believe that was a coincidence. Like, it's so out of place too, right?
Yeah.
Like, it has to like like there's no other way to interpret that than him being connected to Susanoo.
To Susanoo,
there's no
yeah.
other way. Yeah, there's like no. I can't interpret it in any other way. It just, yeah.
He looks like Susanoo, and Hylia looks like Amaterasu with wings. Like, there's no getting around it. And she's connected to the royal family in Hyrule. Amaterasu's connected to the royal family in Japan, the Yamotos. Like, there's no getting around it. It's just funny that it seems like the Zelda fan community doesn't seem to accept that at all.
I don't know. To me, it's pretty obvious.
Someone in the chat's pointing out, are you saying everyone in Skyward Sword are incestuous siblings to one another? Well, I'm just saying there's not a lot of people in Skyloft. Just saying. There's not a lot of genetic diversity up there in those tiny islands in the sky.
It's okay. They're blessed by a lady with feather hair. It's okay.
Nice.
I think it's feather hair at least. I think it's feather hair at least.
Feather hair. Well, in Hyrule Conquest, it depends on who's worshiping Hylia, whether her hair's feather or not, I guess. I guess I'll look at some of the questions. I haven't been keeping up with the chat much. When was there a Zelda line living under Aghanim? They disappeared with Princess Zelda when Aghanim sealed her away. And then she brings the line back. It was the Gustav line that was kind of living in the wilderness during all of that time.
Link is Aragorn.
Yeah, basically. More if you want to be a little more specific, he's King David,
Which is Aragorn.
which is it's probably better to say that Aragorn is King David, and King David is probably embodying an even older person that's just lost to time. It's all principles and principalities, people. It's all just repeating patterns over and over again. There is no way to get rid of King David or Aragorn. They'll always come back. There's no way to get rid of them. You can try all you want. They'll always show up eventually. Let's see what other questions are. I guess, yeah, guys in the chat, I saw some questions earlier, but I missed them because I kind of got caught up in Japanese mythology and religion. But go ahead and ask questions, and then I guess we can use that for our next topic. Or is there any particular topics you want to talk about? I've gone through most of the major lore stuff that I need to flesh out. Except for a few small things that I don't know if I want to make public yet, like Midna.
Yeah.
Or Midna,
Later time.
Lear, Liar, Lower. Yeah, I guess we could. I don't know if I kind of want to keep the Midna ideas under wraps because I actually think they're kind of interesting. And one, they're not even finalized, so. Let's see. What is the Happy Mask Salesman role in the lore? That is undecided. Although, I think I saw someone asking about Skull Kid earlier. I don't know if we want to talk about Skull Kid yet. We talked a lot about Skull Kid the other day. and Saria.
I think it's a bit early.
Yeah. I guess I'll just say, Deox and I have talked about Skull Kid quite a bit lately, but I'd still think it's a little too early for me to really say much about Skull Kid. I guess all I will say is that he'll probably be more directly connected to Saria than he was in the old Nephi canon. I mean, even in Majora's Mask, he has a loose connection to Saria because of her song, but yeah. Let's see what other questions there are. Not related, but how will building work in the campaign? Will they be built on the campaign map or in battles like they are now? That's something I probably need to talk to Ascaris about. I know he has a bunch of plans for how he wants the campaign map to work, but I think you will build some things on the campaign map itself.
We'll probably keep it rather similar to Total War.
Oh, there's Exo. Hi.
Yeah, I was gone for a bit. No, I talked with the campaign map for some time with Askers, but a lot of things are just undecided. But we want to kind of stick to what Total War had. If you're familiar with Battle for Middle-earth, I believe they also had this semi-campaign map thing for a while, right?
Yeah, and the second one.
What was it called? Yeah, the second one had. I really like Battle for Middle-earth, but that that mode felt a little bit bare bones to me. So, in Battle for Middle Earth, it did. I mean, so
I think, yeah, it's up to you guys. I think Total War is like not as complex as Total War because you don't want to take away too much from the RTS aspect of it, but still enough that it's engaging, if that makes sense.
well, that was the thing in Battle for Middle Earth, is that
Yeah.
what they did there is they took, I believe you could make a few buildings in a province, and then you could technically make an army before you would start an RTS match. But the thing is that those armies, they didn't have that much of an impact. You could maybe, if you had a large enough army, you could steamroll the AI fast enough on that map. But that was also kind of boring. So at the end of the day, we really have to discuss what we want to do. I want to have a bit more of, in-depth campaign map like you have in.
Are you thinking like diplomacy and stuff like that?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know how far I want to go with diplomacy, because honestly, if I'm really thinking about overworld maps, I'm a huge fan of Crusader Kings 2, but I really don't want to go that level of detail.
No.
That's a little overkill.
You know.
Yeah, no Crusader
Crusader
Kings
2 is awesome, but
you like
but
Stellaris.
maybe no.
Stellaris is just Crusader Kings in space.
Oh, I love Stellaris.
I haven't played Stellaris.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know Stellaris. I wouldn't know about Stellaris.
I like Stellaris
but...
too, but it is Crusader Kings in space.
I like Stellaris way more than Crusader Kings. Stellaris is... I actually have to say, I think Stellaris is probably my favorite game I've ever played at the moment. It's so good, I had to force myself to stop playing it a few months ago because I was wasting too much time in it.
But when I'm saying Total War, I'm mostly referring to the older Total War games.
Not the Warhammer.
Like
Medieval too.
Yeah, Rome Medieval.
Yeah.
Yeah, Medieval 2. Well, the thing is that I'm not a huge fan of the Rome 2 building system, or the one with Attila. I guess they're kind of similar.
Yeah.
Warhammer has a building system that's a bit more in depth. But to be honest, I haven't even played a Warhammer campaign myself. I've just seen other people play Warhammer campaigns.
The Warhammer Total War is overwhelming,
yeah,
and I think we're disconnecting. I guess I'll wait to see if people can hear us in the chat. Yeah, Codeman's saying there's a lot of buffers.
My favorite campaign in Total War is Shogun 2, and that's not just because weeb lol, but I generally think Shogun 2 had a really good campaign map. Obviously it's not perfect, but I really liked the campaign in that game. I played it so much.
We'll have to come to terms when that time arrives, but I believe that is somewhat of I believe Medieval 2 is still something we want to look at when we would implement the world map. But the world map is still some time off. So Asker said he wanted to do the world map and he was looking forward to doing the world map. But the first thing on his list is hero abilities. So I don't think we're going to see a world.
I think we disconnected.
Poodles.
Poodles? Oh, I see a Poodles. It's acting like we've disconnected, but I guess we'll keep going. Although Codeman says the stream's dying.
I was thinking... I was thinking, though, going on that thread with the world map, even if it's far off, I think it could be worth to talk about it. Wouldn't you have to make a lot of more generic scenario maps, though, Neff?
Yep.
For that?
I have no problem with that.
Like a lot of, yeah, just like...
If we get the random map